The United States government illegally deported a man to a prison in El Salvador, even though they had no legal authority to do so. Even after a Supreme Court ruling, the Trump administration refuses to bring that man back to the United States. This is a defining moment in American history, and many legal experts have concluded that we are, in fact, now in a constitutional crisis. Now, if you've been following the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, then you'll know that this isn't about one man. This is about all of us and all of our rights moving forward in the United States. And whether or not the executive branch can be held accountable by the judicial branch with checks and balances, or does Donald Trump have supreme power to violate our constitutional rights and remove anyone from this land and lock them up in a foreign offshore prison with no institution or person to stop him or bring us back? We are witnessing the shattering of democracy's last line of defense. This is a turning point.
Donald Trump's assault on the judiciary is already the most, what he says, hostile and sustained political attack on America's law enforcement and legal institutions since the Civil War.
It's worse than what we've seen from authoritarians like the leaders in Poland and Turkey, because at least what they tried to do was to pack the courts. They fired judges, or they tried to put their own judges on. What the Trump administration is saying is we don't have to listen to judges. Judges can't tell us what to do. And the reason they're doing this, Simone, is because the main resistance right now is coming from federal courts.
And it's not like he's just disagreeing with court decisions and rulings. He's threatening judges, he's calling for impeachments, and he's actively defying Supreme Court decisions. He's defying the highest law of the land. The highest law that the United States has is being defied by one man. And this is coming from the so-called law and order president.
Law and order. I am the law and order candidate.
We have to bring back law and order.
I am your president of law and order. Law and order.
What he means when he says that is that he is law and order. A dictatorship is when the executive branch rules by executive order alone, with no challenge or authority from the other two branches of government. Zero checks and balances. And if we are not already there, we are damn close. I'm talking riding a razor's edge. Let's start with what just happened in Congress. The House just passed something called the No Rogue Rulings Act. This bill was pushed by Trump loyalist Darrell Issa, who is worth $326 million, by the way. In 2017, he is ranked first for net worth in the House. That's interesting. That is really interesting. This would stop, the Rogue Rulings Act would stop federal judges from issuing nationwide injunctions. And if you don't know what an injunction is, it is just a court ruling restraining somebody from certain actions, such as invading or violating the rights of another person. Interesting. That is interesting that billionaires want to stop that, isn't it? This bill would essentially strip the judicial branch of their power to hold Trump accountable, because courts, they're the only recourse against unconstitutional or harmful policies. This is the House GOP's latest authoritarian gift to Trump, because Trump's furious. He's furious that he keeps getting blocked by the courts for his unconstitutional executive orders, trying to rule like a dictator.
We have bad judges. We have very bad judges. And these are judges that shouldn't be allowed. I think at a certain point, you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge?
The judiciary is the last thing standing between Trump and billionaires and unchecked power over the American people. This is the last line of defense, and Republicans are trying to bulldoze it for him. Now, let's talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is how it all happens.
The man mistakenly deported to El Salvador is now getting help from the Supreme Court. The justices said the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He had a court-ordered protective status preventing his removal. In a court filing, the government admitted it mistakenly deported him due to an administrative error. I want to read from this ruling from the Supreme Court for you first, Katrina. Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, quote, "To this day, the government has cited no basis in law for Abrego Garcia's warrantless arrest, his removal to El Salvador, or his confinement in a Salvadorian prison, nor could it." So what does this mean for him, this ruling, and what are the next steps?
Well, immediately after this ruling came out from the Supreme Court, Errol, it brought it down to the lower court, and the district court judge last night ordered the government to bring him back as soon as possible, or to facilitate bringing him back, were the words of the Supreme Court.
Now, you're probably wondering why the legal battle of an immigrant that is protected by deportation by the court is so important for the future of American freedom. Well, I can tell you, it wasn't Q that told me, right? Here's special counsel Andy Weissman.
I really didn't realize until I saw Justice Sotomayor laying it out in her supplementary finding to the Chief Justice's ruling today, that what they're arguing is that they can do this to any one of us.
So, you know, a lot of times people accuse the media of hyperbole. Yeah. There is no hyperbole here. It is everything that you said. The government was arguing they could snatch anyone in this country, remove them without due process. And even if it's a mistake, this is the callousness, even where it's a conceded mistake, that person can rot in jail as a result of the United States making a mistake, and they would have no obligation to lift a finger. And the Department of Justice's position is we're not lifting a finger unless the court actually requires us to. That is what is so remarkable when you think about what it means to be an American in this country.
We don't know is if in the end of this process, the court, backed by the Supreme Court, orders the return of this one person. We don't know that the Trump government will follow that order. And there will be absolutely nothing that any judge in this country can do to force Donald Trump to get that person out of that prison.
So what's even more disgusting is the excuse by the Trump administration on why they cannot bring Mr. Garcia back. They confessed that they made a mistake, that this was due to a clerical error. But then they argue in court, he's outside of the country, he's out of our jurisdiction, and we have no control over what a sovereign nation does with its newfound prisoners. And in a chilling admission, the Justice Department finally admitted in court that they don't even know where Mr. Garcia is. Here's his lawyer making this statement.
Yeah, that was the most shocking thing of all, that the attorney for the government wasn't even prepared to answer the question, where is Kilmar Abrego today and what is his custodial status? I was very dismayed and disheartened by the fact that they wouldn't answer such a straightforward question.
And in a recent development, the State Department claimed that they're pretty sure that he's in the detention center at CCOT. It's where they hold the terrorists in El Salvador. Now, this is why Republicans and Trump's goons, billionaire goons, by the way, are trying to pass legislation like the No Rogue Rulings Act, because these judges are acting as checks and balances because they are violating people's constitutional rights. Yes, these judges are doing exactly what our founding fathers designed the system to do to protect against authoritarianism. And if you're thinking, well, this is just happening to immigrants, I'm a citizen, not my problem, it ain't gonna happen to me. You are not gonna like what I'm about to tell you, because they want to do this to American citizens as well in the same way. They started it the same way. Just the worst of the worst, right?
Back to El Salvador, the president there said he would be willing to take American citizens in the federal prison population. Is that one of the ideas you're going to be discussing?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if you would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different. If they can house these horrible criminals for a lot less money than it costs us, I'm all for it. But I'd only do according to the law. But I have suggested that, why should it stop just at people that cross the border illegally? We have some horrible criminals, American grown and born.
There's a lot of alarmism out there in headlines, but it is unfathomable that this was said on national television. It is unfathomable that we are even having a discussion about this in America. Do you know what I mean? Judges have already concluded that they can accidentally deport anyone to El Salvador with no way of getting them back to the United States. So how will they define a criminal next? Is it members of the LGBTQ group? Is it protesters exercising their First Amendment right with no judicial branch to rule that they in fact were using their constitutional rights? Is it journalists? Is it a father speaking out against this on the MeidasTouch network? Is it the enemy within?
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. We have two enemies. We have the outside enemy, and then we have the enemy from within. And the enemy from within, in my opinion, is more dangerous than China, Russia, and all these countries.
And now for the part that makes my stomach drop. Recently, the Supreme Court, the highest law of the land, ruled in a unified court with no dissents that the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Mr. Garcia to the United States. And how did the Trump administration respond? They said, sure, if Mr. Garcia can somehow get out of prison and back to America, then we will let him back in the country and change his immigration status. Now, I want you to connect all the pieces. Trump can deport anybody that he wants to a brutal prison in a foreign land, legally or illegally, mistake or on purpose, American citizen or immigrant, none of it matters. He can deport your son, your daughter, your neighbor, and there isn't anything that anyone can do about it. Because once you're there, you are subject to the jurisdiction of that country, and there is no way to get you back. The Constitution doesn't matter. The Bill of Rights, American law, the judicial branch, the media exposure, none of it matters. If a judge rules that your rights were violated, but the executive branch says, who cares? There's nothing you could do about it. Nothing I could do about it. Then what rights do you really have? The only rights that you have are the ones that Trump allows you to have. So we've got two choices right now. We can either speak up, or we can accept that one day we're going to wake up in a country where the president doesn't answer to anyone, and your voice will be silenced by fear or force. We're almost there if we're not there already. And there is no coming back once that happens.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.